Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, MoneySense, for having me. So today I will be sharing about retirement planning, a topic that's very close to my heart. It's been a tough 2 to 3 years. Life can be quite unpredictable, and but instead of focusing on things that we cannot control, we can instead consider the things that we can control and manage, like planning for our financial future in a more prepared way. So this is my agenda for today. I'll talk about what sustainable retirement is and move on to talk about building passive income flows. So for me, my retirement plan has to be sustainable. We all know that we're facing several risks, in our lives. Inflation is one of them. Living longer lives is another, which translates to even longer years in retirement compared to our great-grandfathers and grandfathers. So the other risks could include things like rising medical costs, underspending or overspending, and of course investment risks during your retirement years. So we want to be able to fund our golden years and avoid the danger of outliving our nest eggs. So I started retirement planning about 20 years ago. I was in my 30s. So yes, I'm now in my 50s. So it's been 20 plus long years looking at my retirement plan, reviewing it over the years and so on. And these are some of the steps that I took. So back then, I had an Excel spreadsheet. And on the left side of my spreadsheet, I decided to make out 3 columns. I was so I wanted to make sure that I don't underplan. So in the 3 columns, I had a basic retirement lifestyle, moderate lifestyle, and luxurious lifestyle. So I started out by imagining what my desired retirement lifestyle would be. And along with the columns, I also detailed what my needs and wants would be for each of the different lifestyles. And I included the expected expenses for each of the lifestyle. So that's quite, in a granular way, that's how I sort of pursued my retirement planning as a start. And then on the right side of my spreadsheet, I started to list down my current income flows and projected my investments, my income, and as well as indicated what is the time frame and the duration of these flows. And so by doing this exercise over time, it gives me an idea of, it gives me much greater clarity on when I can realistically retire. It helps me to allocate my savings, my income into the different investments as I get older and older, accumulation phase and pre-retirement phase and retirement phase, you take a look at different and you consider different investments along the way. So what I was trying to do on my right side is over time to match my income flows to my expected expenses, and depending on which lifestyle I'm looking at. So that also helps me to decide when I can realistically retire, as I've mentioned earlier on. So I do this exercise, every few months and year in, year out. So it's been like 20 plus years. And along the way, I have devised, a system or I have a better idea of what are my regular predictable cash flows that I can use to fund my needs, and which are the not so guaranteed volatile cash flows for maybe riskier products but with potentially higher yields that I can use to fund my wants. And as I do this year in, year out, my husband, when he sees me with the spreadsheet and the calculator, he'll be like, wow, Lorna, counting your money again. And I'll say, yeah. I mean, to me, it's a very serious thing because not only am I planning for my own retirement, I'm also planning for my parents' retirement because I am their retirement plan. So it's something that I take very seriously, and I'm glad I have, because looking back in the past 20 years, now I'm in a better position to even know, what kind of income flows I can really expect during my retirement. So this here shows you what are the different investments, that you can possibly put your income into so that you can accumulate along the way, as well as give you the desired income flows when you are retired. So in the smaller box, you have products like government schemes like CPF Life, Singapore savings bonds, you have the SRS, which is a supplementary retirement scheme, and other products like insurance plans like annuities. If you have investment property, rental income, you can have dividends from REIT. So in that smaller box, these are probably the more guaranteed, more stable, more predictable income flows that you can use to fund your needs. And then in the outer box, those are the more variable flows that can come from riskier products like, equities, which need a longer time duration for you to see the higher expected returns, as well as, other alternative products like private equity and commodities and so on. So this sort of summarizes what I've already mentioned. So step one is to identify and quantify your needs and wants. And step two is then, over time you can then match, as you get closer to retirement, it's good to be able to match your income streams to these expenses so that what is your safety net with regards to meeting your needs, and then what are the other variable income flows that can be used to meet your wants. So if you look at the bottom half of the slide, for needs, I will definitely use my CPF Life payouts to help me to fund my needs. And the next speaker from CPF board will give you a better elaboration on what the CPF Life scheme is, as well as what are the various schemes out there to top up your CPF savings. So I will not go too much into that. Okay, then the other scheme that I will definitely be using as well during my retirement to fund my needs will be the supplementary retirement scheme savings or balances. And another way of funding your needs would be insurance or payouts from REITs. Then the less guaranteed flows can come from your stocks, dividends, or sell off of your stocks, withdrawing from your stocks portfolio over time, as well as withdrawal from your unit trusts, or if you're getting dividends from certain unit trusts, you can also use that to fund your wants. So in a nutshell, this is what financial experts will call the flooring strategy, which is one of the strategies you can use to enhance your retirement planning. For me, the CPF Life payout thing is definitely very important. And you can see from this slide that if you are able to set aside the enhanced retirement sum of $288,000 this year, if you're 55, you can possibly expect about $2,300 in terms of the payout when you reach 65 years old. Now, of course, the longer you can defer the age that you receive your payouts, the higher the monthly payout will be. So, and the next slide gives you an idea of what are the different schemes in the CPF board, which the next speaker can also elaborate on, likely, I think, the topping up scheme and all that. Okay, moving on to the other products that you can have during your retirement or pre-retirement will be the supplementary retirement scheme. So this is a scheme that helps to boost your savings for your retirement years while giving you tax relief. So the maximum contribution you can make each year is about $15,300 if you're a Singaporean, and if an PR, if you're foreigner, it's $35,000, 700. That's the cap every year. And the penalty-free 10-year withdrawal period will then start on the statutory retirement age that was prevailing when you make the first SRS contribution, which for most of us will be either age 62 or 63. But bear in mind that you will only be withdrawing for 10 years unless you have bought an annuity. Okay, the retirement income insurance plan, this is an insurance product, and it has been very popular in the last several years. I suppose it's because pre-retirees are beginning to realize that in the first 10 to 20 years of their lives, they will probably incur higher retirement expenses because they will be keen to travel, they're still mobile, they're healthy, they may want to pursue certain hobbies or set up new businesses during their retirement years. So this kind of plan has become quite popular actually. So it offers specified cash amounts over a certain period of time, could be 10, 15, or 20 years. And it sort of helped to complement your CPF Life payouts, your SRS payouts that you'll be receiving during your retirement. And these are the questions that I've listed that you can think of when you're choosing a particular retirement income insurance plan. When you want to start the plan, what kind of payout you need. And of course, when you look at the payouts, please understand which is the guaranteed and not guaranteed component of the payout. So you don't get a surprise when you start receiving the payouts. And some of these plans also give an additional lump sum payout at the end of the policy. And these are the other investments that you can look at. Chris earlier on mentioned about the fixed income products like SSBs, SGS bonds, and especially T-bills that have become quite, making headlines the last few months because the rate has gone up to a very decent level of above 3, above 4 even for T-bills. And as Chris said, if you are a pre-retiree or retiree, if you have the cash, this is some of you I'm sure will be looking at such products to give you some recurring income and so on. The other investments that you can look at to give you certain recurring income would be, REITs, dividend stocks, and some of you might have heard of income portfolios as well. So these portfolios will be made up of multi-asset class of securities, and they are mandated to give you regular cash payouts as well on a monthly basis. But be aware that that if the performance of the market is really bad, it might eat into your principal. So that's something to bear in mind. You can also look at long-term investments even if you're a retiree, because we don't know how long we're going to be living. Longevity is always a risk, so it's always good to have some equities as well. And this is for your long-term duration, and you can draw down from this diversified portfolio of equities and bonds, and adjust it yearly for inflation. Our home is also an asset. So for all of us, most of us would be an owner of a home. So if you need to monetize your home, you can look at these various options, right? Especially when the kids have grown up and they've gotten married and they have left the home, they've flown the coop. So you may not need such a room with 4 bedrooms or even 3 bedrooms. So you may want to consider renting out your home. You may want to sell the property. You may want to downsize, or you want to unleash equity and consider things like the lease buyback scheme. And whether you have a HDB flat or a private property, if you do really downsize to a 3-room flat or smaller, you can also enjoy some bonuses from the government, like the silver housing bonus. So again, not to forget, home planning is another important aspect of retirement planning. And this is my last slide, and in this last slide I listed down some of the steps we can consider, while we are in retirement, to remember that it is good whether it's just before retirement or in retirement, to minimize your liabilities. Like if you can pay up your housing loan, it would be best, I would say, to pay up before you retire, so that you have less worry about the roof over your head. And of course, avoid investment mistakes and leakage. What I'm trying to say is avoid being a victim of an investment scam. So I'm glad to see that we have some information out there on my right, talking about how to avoid investment scams. What are the possible rate alerts and what are the rate flags you should look out for, so that you do not lose your hard-earned savings. Continue to upgrade your financial know-how. This is very important, so that you know what are the questions you can ask. Even if you meet with a financial advisor, it's good to be informed yourself, so you can ask the right questions. And also be on a constant lookout for opportunities. And the landscape is always changing. Vasu were talking about, and Chris were talking about, headwinds, tailwinds. So it's good to keep an understanding of what the landscape is, and to have a good lookout of the opportunities, so that we can boost our financial resilience over the years. Estate planning is another important component of retirement planning. So even if you're not a retiree, and you're close to retirement at whatever age, it's always good to have a will. it's good to review your CPF nominations, your insurance nominations, do your lasting power of attorney, and if you have more complex assets, then consider setting up a trust, or if you have needy family members, consider setting up a trust as well. And retirement planning is not all about financials. It's all health. Health is wealth. So continue to stay healthy, stay positive, and I wish everyone a happy retirement with purposeful life objectives. Thank you very much.